thank you, World Music Institute. And let me add Benjamim right here. Here we are together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll also say thank you to Bryce and World Music Institute. I've had countless amazing moments in the audience listening to World Music Institute's concerts. I know, Benjamin, you've played on two many years ago, right? And Bryce has done, even before World Music Institute, of course, Winter Jazz Fest. And Bryce mentioned that the new Open Arms album is coming out in January 12th it comes out, and then January 13th we'll actually be at Winter Jazz Fest to perform that music. But let's say hi to Benjamin. How are you?
Hey, Oran. Nice to be here, a pleasure.
Yeah.
Good to be here, and let's share our views on those issues and our passion for the music and for the music of the world, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. The music and the people of the world.
Yeah, and people.
And also, let's say hello to the people on here with us, the attendees: Amanda, Kate, Kim, Thomas, Viviana, everyone joining us here. Thank you all. Yeah. Should we? Well, first of all, I want to say Benjamin and I met through a dear friend of ours who passed away a few months ago. Doobie Lenz introduced us, and he was telling me, "Oh, you got to meet this guy Benjamin when you go down to Brazil," and then
he said the same. He's a kind of enthusiast to present people, so he told me, "Oh, you have to meet Oran." So
yeah,
it was the same.
Yeah. And I think we might let everybody in on the optical illusion that we're creating here, because it seems like we're very far away from each other. But in fact, we're both sitting in the new cultural center. Oh, yeah, I'll speak right into the mic here. We're both sitting in the cultural center that Benjamin founded here, right? You had a place here in Sao Paulo that everybody talks about called Casa de Núcleo. And now you reopened Casinha de Núcleo. You want to say?
Yes. Casa do Núcleo was a cultural center of music, a house. Wasn't a big place, but it was could host from 60 to 300 people, depending on the confirmation of the event. It lasted until 2016. It was a joy to have it, but a lot of work. And I was performing, I was traveling, I was producing, so it became too much at one point. I remember coming back from Korea and not coming back home, but going straight there, to a meeting or to meet people or to solve problems. And we did a lot of stuff because we had to support it. And the idea of supporting it was doing stuff. So we did 250 events a year, every year. It was music almost from Tuesday to Sunday, every week. But then we stopped it, and then came all these events that we know, like the pandemic, and here in Brazil we had a kind of difficult political situation. So, but during the pandemic, I started to build a home in the middle of the forest,
Mm-hmm.
in the middle of the monkeys, the birds, and
yeah,
and then I was thinking what I would do with my place here, and I was thinking different ideas like to rent or Airbnb or I don't know what, but then came this idea of doing a room of music, like a small, very small cultural center. Like this is why it's called Casinha, like little house, and it became a joy also. So now we are starting the project, and step by step, and the idea is to present music, but also to rehearsals or studio to recording, to have seminars.
Yeah.
I'm passionate about talking, like music and philosophy, music and mathematics, music and cure, those
Yeah.
topics. So meet people and talk also.
It's beautiful. And for
Yeah.
me, it's become a home here.
Yeah.
I've been for those of you who don't know. Actually, I just had a daughter. Her name is Leah, and my wife Laura is from Brazil. So we're here in Brazil for a few months now until January, hanging out with her family, spending this time enjoying Leah's first months with lots of family around. And every Sunday, I'm playing here at your Casinha de Núcleo with a different ensemble, different everything. And a few weeks ago, we had a choro
Yes.
group of a bunch of really master choro musicians here, and I thought maybe we could play one choro.
Sure, let's do it.
And today's actually a holiday in Brazil, right? It's a new holiday.
Yeah, for some years now.
Yeah, and it's not every state that has this holiday, but it's a holiday that celebrates black culture, right?
Yes, the day of the black consciousness.
The Day of the Black Consciousness in Brazil. I feel like it's relatively new, relative to the United States. It's more new here that there's a lot of talk about the black identity, black culture, and its richness. And perhaps we'll do a song by a black Brazilian composer, Pixinguinha.
Genius.
Yeah, genius composer.
Genius.
And we're going to play Cochichando
Beautiful.
to create some energy and move some spirit around.
Pixinguinha.
Pixinguinha. Actually, if you could bring the mic.
Yes.
Pixinguinha, great.
Pixinguinha, you know, he's considered a kind of saint here in Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
He was a warm heart, very good, humble guy. He was a genius, but never treated himself like that.
Mm.
And he has a lot of beautiful stories about him.
Mm-hmm.
And he died old already in a church. Just sat down in a church on Sunday. He sat down and went.
Yeah.
So this was Pixinguinha.
When we had our evening of choro music here, the nice thing about this venue here is it's very intimate. So instead of announcing things to the audience, things become a discussion, and everybody starts saying things and telling stories at once.
Yes.
And I think you mentioned the way that Pixinguinha passed away in a church very peacefully,
Yeah.
and also Jaco de Bandolim, how he passed away.
Yeah, Jacó do Bandolim, yes.
He passed away on stage. Is that correct?
Not just after the stage.
Just after he performed.
He had, because he felt that he was a little forgotten, because at this time the bossa nova, choro was before the bossa nova, yes? Was the 40s, 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's alive until nowadays, but during the bossa nova, it disappeared a little, you know?
Yeah, sure.
And so Jacó was a kind of hurted by that, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
And so he went to do a concert in the University of Rio in the 70s. And for his big surprise, it was totally crowded by young people. And they just loved his music, of course. He was a genius. And he was so surprised of his acceptance that he died of happiness.
Wow.
He just died.
Yeah.
He couldn't stand so much joy.
Wow. Yeah.
This is the story.
Yeah. And my experience so far here has been that everything in Brazil, there's a sweetness.
I see.
You know, like, having a baby now, a car seat. When we put the baby in the car, we put it in America, we say car seat. And here it's bebê conforto.
Yes.
Bebê conforto sounds so much more poetic than car seat. And even the way that, these stories about these great masters and how they lived and...
I think that historically we had a lot of storytelling about things of the heart, of sharing, of this changed a little in the last years. Was a surprise for all of us, but maybe something that we had to go through,
You mean because of the political situation?
Yes,
And the
political,
divisions.
social, and religious, and all these divisions. Usually it wasn't exactly like this, was more together, There was a feeling of a country, but not against nothing, It was a kind of recognition we had about ourselves. And the contribution of each people for the culture,
Yeah.
Like the black culture was always viewed as an important part of the culture.
Yeah.
Also the native Indian culture and the immigrants and everything, but there was a way of seeing all this as one,
As Brazilian culture.
Yes,
Yeah.
as one. And the choro is a very strong representative of that, because you have the harmonic content, the melodic content, the rhythm content.
Yeah.
My perception of the choro, the King of Portugal came with his court to Brazil in the beginning of the 19th century. because of Napoleon, you know.
Yeah.
Napoleon invaded Portugal, so the king of Portugal ran to Brazil with all his court. So he brought the musicians
Wow.
of the court.
Uh-huh.
So the musicians came with a lot of knowledge, yes, of the European music and all this music from the court. But here they met the black people. So if you take the choro has this European form,
Yeah.
but with a lot of rhythm, swing, and melodic aspects. I think it's a meeting of these two developments of the music, you know?
Yeah.
One more rhythmic and one more European. And here they met and create this beautiful music.
Yeah. And actually that brings us also to the project that we've been working on together,
Mm-hmm.
which touches on this element of cultures meeting.
Yes.
And for me, the most fertile ground for creation is when different traditions meet in a way that both are deep within their tradition, but so deep that they can be open. Because once you're grounded, you can be totally open to somebody
Yes,
else.
that's true.
You know?
I totally agree.
And this idea of Open Arms project, I'll say briefly kind of what the idea is. Instead of the traditional model of the music industry is to record an album and then you tour playing that same music everywhere you go. But as I toured, I was like, man, I want to play with these guys. I want to play with these guys. I want to create something new with these guys, you know? So this kind of flips that around. And when I was in Zimbabwe, you know, I had some time off between the shows in France and Zimbabwe, so I lived with traditional Mbira musicians. And the night after I got there, there was an all-night ceremony, and we were up till the morning, you know, with Mbira players from the whole region coming around, and I was playing with them the whole time. And then I said, I'm not going to do a trio concert of my music now. Let's have you guys come up and play. Same thing with Roma musicians, the people that are mistakenly called gypsies in Czech Republic, with Erkan Ogur, a great musician in Turkey, with Danilo Caimi, a great master here in Brazil. So the idea is there's these collaborations in each country that I come as myself, open, grounded in my own personality and my own history, but open to them, and they come with themselves open to me, and we create something new in each location. And then we took that to the next level. Actually, when we were invited for Winter Jazz Fest in 2022, it was canceled due to Omicron in terms of the live events, but we recorded here in Brazil. And what we did was I took stems of each of those places and started creating grooves and textures with those different stems. So like hand clapping from Zimbabwe, little loop of a string instrument from Turkey, Danilo's two, indigenous flutes that he plays. Wah, 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 wah,
Yes,
together.
double.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we started to bring those in electronically, and like we have a piece where we have the musicians from Zimbabwe playing, and then the band in Sao Paulo is improvising around that, for example. So it's all about creating connections. Both the connections I created with each individual in each country, but then also deconstructing that music and creating connection between the musicians in Zimbabwe and here. The first track on the album is me in Rio with Danilo Caimi doing Edoso Meher no Mar, which his father wrote in the 40s, or maybe even the 30s. I think the 40s.
Maybe 40s, yes. Yeah. I guess 40s.
And then the last track is with Kevin Hayes and Matt Wilson, my buddies in New York, playing that same music, reinterpreting it. So it's all about throwing the same melodies between Brazil to New York, from Zimbabwe to Czech Republic, throwing around melodic phrases and seeing what happens. Before actually, I want to talk about also the social thing what you were talking about with what has happened here in Brazil since the Bolsonaro years and stuff with the society. Before I do, though, we do have a question from someone who asked, what is the musical format of choro music? And so it's choro with a CH, which means chorar, which means to cry, right? That's the origin of choro.
But the musical format, I think it's coming from Rondó, from this European music. So you have the first part is in 3 parts usually. When it's faster, when it's slow, it's only 2 parts. Related to themselves, like if you start in F, the second part usually would be in D minor, if it's F major. So there is all this kind of European stuff, but at the same time it developed it in its own way and its own music and went to different places.
Yeah.
When you talk, about, there is something that it's so deep in all that it's linked to different languages on music.
Yeah.
What we are facing, one of the sides of the crisis we are living today is that because people are having very little access to the diversity of the world. Even if this diversity is everywhere, people are looking to the same stuff.
Yeah.
Like you have 300%, of you, and they are looking the same 0, 1, blah, blah, blah. So this is, people became poor,
Yeah. Culturally.
It's a kind of poorness.
Yeah.
And the experience they shared and they have, the kind of experience they live is so poor in terms of
Cultural.
Yes.
And social and emotional and spiritual.
Yes, that they became kind of stupid,
Yeah.
Instead of open your heart to the diversity of the world, to the zillions of things, zillion of flowers, of plants, of way of behaving, on food, of way of dealing with life, with death, with sickness, with love, with family. Each people has a different way of dealing with that, and we should be learning all of that.
Yeah.
We just left most of that out and started to be stupid and live like fool people.
Yeah.
So I think that keeping this alive, all these cultures, all these traditions, all this knowledge, it's really important, It's like water of life.
And for me, it's not just about keeping these alive in a museum, preserving them, stopping them in time. It's about keeping them living and interacting. And I think people often think of each culture existing on its own. Like, in Mali there was this
Tradition.
music. In Zimbabwe there's this and that. But in fact, because Mali, for example, I work a lot with Mali musicians. There, the music was very influenced by the Arabic influence from the north there, and the influence from sub-Saharan Africa in the south. And music has always been about people meeting, and about people connecting, and about creating in the moment and creating new things. And I think this connection is something that feels missed. And it's interesting because a lot of this, this format, what we're talking about, a lot of this series came out of the pandemic, when people were very lonely and alone, and the connection was something that was important.
Yes.
I want to speak personally for myself. I feel like I have a different kind of darkness has descended on my life in the past month, 5 weeks. At the same time that an amazing light came into my life, with my daughter being born and being here in Brazil with family and everything, in the society and culture and music and life. There's this intense heaviness about what is going on in the land where I was born, in Israel,
Yes.
Palestine.
Yes.
And and the tragedy that's happening there every day, and the way that it's caused connections to break. And
you know, the idea we are facing, let's say, the big crisis, of the idea of me.
Mm.
So you think it's my religion, my people. So the other saying, and the other one is saying it's my religion, it's my people. So if you don't create us,
Yeah.
there's no way out, you know?
Yeah.
The people will insist, and people will die together. And it's the saying of the me has a small portion of who we are.
Yeah.
We are the universe, you know?
And this thing of us, I think, is something that music brings, this connection of us. And without us, you can't play music. Without listening to each other, we can't play with each other. And this is also part of why I created the Open Arms project, and why for me all of a sudden this feels like it is an energy that right now I miss in this vacuum of what happened.
Sure.
And I think if you go back to each generation in Israel and Palestine, my father's generation, he grew up with Palestinians all around. It was very much part of daily life. People were working
Sure.
together, farming together, even though there were tensions, of course. In my experience as a teenager, I came up became a teenager and started my worldview in the 90s when everyone was talking about peace, and peace seemed like right around the corner, and there was a peace process. I played gigs in Ramallah, you know, there was a connection between people, and there was a hope, and there was a drive, and people were dreaming of what could be next. And the next generation now doesn't know each other. People in Gaza never met an Israeli civilian. The Israelis that they know are military.
Yes.
And the same with a lot of Israeli civilians. They never met a Palestinian, never created music, danced with one, laughed with one, spent the evening together, saw sunrise with one. There was never, you know, and I think this separation is what created this problem, and this separation and this problem creates more separation.
Yes.
And this energy that is online of everybody yelling at each other and everybody supporting one group or supporting the others if it's a sports event is something that for me feels so suffocating.
It is.
And I thought perhaps we can do one song. And this is a song that that we've been doing together, that actually every concert for the last month, 5 weeks, every concert that I've been doing this song as the encore. And it's a song that that I remember my father singing when I was a child.
That's
Just singing
nice.
around the house. It's called Shiri Madkan, which means all the songs until now. And it's based on a poem by a father who lost his son in war. And it's about all the songs they sang until now. And it says, Yafimi meni umimcha ha'adama lakcha. People more beautiful than you and I, the earth has taken. And for me also as a new father, it's been tragic just thinking about being a parent burying your child. And so I want to play this with respect to everybody who's lost a child, and with hope that we can minimize that in the future.
I was praying to remember the song.
Yeah.
Nice.
For me, I couldn't play this song without crying for the
Yeah, I know. I know.
first weeks.
I know.
I was
Makes sense.
playing this while crying every time in these concerts. It was, but I think for me, the important thing within all this yelling that is going on in the world is feeling. And for me, feeling is, if you don't feel the pain of both people on both sides of the border,
Yes.
and feel the aspirations and the dreams of people, I feel like the thing that has been bothering me so much lately is the dehumanization. There seems to be so much dehumanization of people,
That's true.
and maybe that's what humans need to do sometimes to dull the pain of feeling, of empathy, especially when the answer seems so distant. But I really think the answer is so close, because the answer is just feeling, and there is no other way other than peace. And I for me, what happened on October 7th and everything that's happened since then was proof that all the ways that have been tried don't work.
Don't work.
The only way is peace that comes through seeing one another.
And it's a land that, when you have this, the land is rich, and the harvest is multi, you know. So you can. This is when you have civilization, you know. When the arts, when the knowledge, when the science develop, because people are living in peace.
Yeah.
And they are creating societies together and creating a better life for everybody.
Yeah.
And also in the future.
Yeah.
So,
It is
yes.
richness. You were talking about a lot of people feeling poor spiritually now. And that is richness. Definitely, when
Yes.
there is seeing each other and interacting with each other and living in empathy and seeing each other and feeling, there becomes such richness. And I've seen that richness in that land. It's such a rich land. It's the soil is so fertile with culture and with art and with food and with music and history and presence and future, that there's so much potential. So, yeah.
True.
I thought maybe we can also do a piece of music that, you know, I see a lot of parallels also as I travel around the world. And one place where I saw a lot of parallel is when I worked with Roma musicians. And you know, the people who, for anyone who doesn't know, Roma is the preferred name of the people who have been called gypsies or tzigan or gitan and manouche. The preferred name is Roma. And these are people who, like the Jewish people in Europe, have a history of being persecuted, of having to run away from places where they live due to persecution, and in the midst of that creating culture of joy and culture of richness, of musicality and camaraderie, and there's a history of Jewish people and Roma people playing at each other's weddings. They were a lot of times the musicians in the communities and stuff. And we just released a single this past Friday, which is based on a lullaby that I learned in Czech Republic from great Roma musician Pavlina Matejova. And the piece it starts off with a lullaby, Soven Shaven Soven, and goes on to what we imagine the dream to be. So let's play a little bit of Soven Shaven Soven going into Pavlinka's dream. And I also want to say I composed this with a lot of respect and admiration for the work that Pavlinka, this singer who's on the album, and her community are doing right now in Czech Republic to uplift Roma voices and Roma pride. When I went there, I've been going every year since 2014, and there was somebody working in an NGO who said when he arrived there, 75% of the Roma children were being sent to schools of mentally disabled people, just because they were Roma. So there's a lot of way to go, and the Roma people like Pavlinka raising the culture up is something that inspired me a lot in this piece, Pavlinka's Dream, which we're gonna play now. Thank you, Benjamin.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is the first time we played that as a duo. Usually
Yes.
in the second half part we have drums coming in and we have samples of a mbira from Zimbabwe and hand clapping from Zimbabwe.
Thousands of things.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
beautiful to play with you. And thank you so much, Benjamin.
No,
It's
you're welcome.
A
A
joy.
pleasure. A joy to be with you.
Yeah.
Oran.
And thank you again to everyone who is with us, everyone attending this, everyone watching this afterwards as well. And thank you to Gabby and to Bryce and to everybody at World Music Institute. And let's bring Gabby in to join the party.
Yeah, wow. I cannot thank you enough for giving us this hour, which just, I think was something all of us needed, and sharing of your soul, helping to heal all of our souls, and being the perfect demonstration of why we all need music, why we all need musicians and artists coming together and helping build these spaces. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for being a member of the World Music Institute community. We are so grateful for this community, and we look forward to seeing you again at another session or at another show. Thank you,
Mm-hmm.
and a good rest of the evening. Oran, Benjamin, this was a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you. Really a joy to be with you.